I totally forgot about this stuff until recently, when I was talking to my brother about something that reminded me. When I was a kid in 3rd grade, we lived in a ghetto part of a shitty city. I lived in a shitty neighborhood as well. During the day, when I didn't have school, I'd play outside like any normal kid back then. I made friends with literally every single kid in my neighborhood. One of the kids I made friends with lived catty-corner to my house and down a couple houses. I would go to his house often because he lived in the attic, which I thought was fucking sick at the time, and he had a mini pool table. This kid was a couple years older than me, and I met him when he was going door to door, asking to mow people's lawns for cash. Anyways, one night I went over to his house for a few hours. It got late and dark, and so his parents told me I had to go home. This night, my friend decided to walk home with me. It isn't a long walk at all. You can see his house from my house. But anyway, he's walking me home, and as we were crossing the street, there was this man dressed in dark clothing. This man had a black hoodie on, with the hood pulled over his face. As soon as I saw him, he was already walking straight at us. He approached us in the middle of the street and asked, "Hey kids, what are your names?" I instantly got a creepy feeling from this guy and didn't want to talk to him. But before I could speak, my friend introduced himself and even told the guy what my name was, since I wasn't talking. The guy then asked something like, "What do you guys do for fun?" And we said, "We like to play mini pool." This guy never shared any details about himself, by the way, not even his name. He asked those 2 questions and dismissed them very quickly. He then asked his 3rd question, "So where do you guys live?" And when he asked this, I started getting very scared. I knew I wasn't supposed to be talking to strangers in the first place, but I guess my friend who's older than me had no idea about the stranger danger rule, because he literally says, "Oh, I live right there," and he points to his house. Then the guy looks at me and asks me, "So where do you live?" And since I was scared, and this whole interaction didn't feel right to me, I pointed at a completely different house and said, "I live there." This is when I realized my friend is the dumbest kid on the block, because he says, "What? Dude, that's not where you live. You live right there." And he literally points at my fucking house. I instantly panicked in my head because this dumbass friend of mine just showed this creepy grown-ass stranger adult exactly where I live. My friend didn't realize I was lying on purpose. So in my panic, I yell, "No, that's not where I live. Are you stupid? You wouldn't know where I live because you've never been to my house. I live right there." And I point to the house that I first pointed at. Then me and my friend argue for a few seconds about which house is mine, until the stranger guy says, "Come on, Kyle, it's okay, you can tell me where you live." I point at the house that I've been pointing at the whole time, and say, "That's where I live, I swear. My friend has never been to my house before." The guy asks me, "Are you sure?" And I say, "Yes, and if you try to rob my house, my dad will shoot you, because we have guns, and he will kill you." Which I am yelling at him at this point, and I am visibly shaken up and scared by this man, and angry at my friend. My dad didn't even live with us, by the way, but I was trying to scare this guy off. When I started yelling, the guy said he had to go. Thank God. Then I run into my house with tears in my eyes. At the time, I didn't know why, but this situation scared me so badly, and I called my friend stupid and shut my front door. Now, as an adult, I realize I had good intuition in that moment, and I feel I was right to be scared. Once I'm home, I go running to my mom and told her that some man was going to try and rob our house because my friend told him where we live. I don't know if she even believed me, but I was convinced that this man was actually going to rob our house. I actually had a hard time falling asleep the next few nights because all I could think about was this man was going to break into our house and rob us. I stopped hanging out with that kid. I think I hurt his feelings when I yelled at him and called him names, since I was upset he told some creep my name and where I lived. It was maybe a month later that my family moved out of this house. A little bit after we moved, my mom told me that same friend had gone missing, and his parents think he might have run away from home. As a kid, I obviously didn't think he could have been kidnapped. I just thought he ran away. Whatever. I don't know if he was ever found. I hope so. But now I can't help but think that it's possible this kid was kidnapped by that creepy dude who approached us that night. Too long didn't read. Creepy stranger guy approaches my friend and I late at night when we were children, asks us weird question, and asked us to tell him where we lived. Around a month later, my friend went missing. I don't know if he was ever found, since I had moved away by then. My mom told me they think he ran away. I never heard about him again. I am just now connecting dots when I'm reminded about it as an adult. This happened recently in the evening. I, 18 female, was walking with my boyfriend, 18 male, when we stopped for a bit and were making out. An older man noticed and stared at me very angrily, which immediately made me uncomfortable. Because of that, my boyfriend and I decided to leave and started walking away. After we walked a few meters, I looked back and saw the same man standing behind a tree with his bike on the footpath. When he realized we had noticed him, he turned his bike and rode away. A few minutes later, he came back riding on the same footpath and crossed us, so we thought he had actually left. We continued walking, but then we saw him standing there once again. He kept staring directly at my face with an angry expression. I felt extremely anxious and unsafe in that moment. After we crossed him, he didn't follow us anymore. We walked a little further and noticed that he had parked his bike and walked off somewhere else. After that, we never saw him again. The whole situation left me shaken, and I still think about how uncomfortable and scary it felt. I'm posting this here because the whole situation left me shaken. I keep wondering what I could have done differently, and how women are supposed to handle situations like this without panicking. Has anyone else ever experienced something similar? How do you deal with this kind of fear in the moment? I was 19 when this happened, working closing shifts at a Sam's Club in North Carolina. It was only about a 7-minute drive from my mom's house, and I genuinely loved my coworkers. We were close, and I trusted them to have my back. This happened right after a big holiday sales event, the kind where the store is packed and everything is chaos. I was in the closing section late at night, folding piles of clothes left behind on the tables, when I noticed a man watching me out of the corner of my eye. I assumed he needed help. I asked, "Is there anything I can help you find?" He answered in a nervous, high-pitched voice, asking for a different size. I helped him, but afterward he started complimenting me, telling me I was pretty, and asking if I was Hispanic. I was exhausted, and didn't think much of it. I even assumed he might be harmless, and also thought he might have liked the opposite sex. As the store was closing, he asked for my Snapchat. I gave it to him. I was never planning on actually having conversations with him. Even now, I cringe thinking about why a 19-year-old would give her Snapchat to a man who looked to be in his 40s. After we closed and cleared the store, I met up with my closest coworker. I'll call her Bestie. I casually mentioned the guy and told her his name, Kevin. Her face dropped. She asked to see his Snapchat. The moment I pulled it up, she went quiet and called over a manager we trusted. Suddenly I was being asked questions. What he looked like, what he said, whether he was alone. Then they told me who he really was. He was a former employee who'd been fired after multiple incidents. He had stalked a girl who worked there, showing up on her days off to bother her, and he used the posted schedules in the break room to track when she worked. Things escalated badly enough that he was eventually terminated. When I was working there, we used the app for our schedule, and he was the reason why they changed it from paper to personal apps now. And now, apparently, I was next. That night, the manager and Bestie walked me to my car. While we were standing there, I got a Snapchat message from him. I told them immediately. The message asked if I lived nearby and if I wanted to hang out. Bestie told me exactly what to say, that I didn't live alone and had roommates nearby. When he asked if he could come over, I said no. I blocked him as soon as I got home. Out of curiosity, I looked him up on Facebook. He had a wife, kids, a family. I considered warning her, but I was told the woman before me had tried, and the wife didn't believe her. The next day at work, Bestie called me over the walkie-talkie and told me to go to the back of the store. "Kevin is here," she said. He was asking for me by name. This became routine. Almost every shift, he'd come in asking where I was. I'd hide in the break room, the back, or wherever I could. Eventually, most of my co-workers knew what was happening and helped without question. One day, Bestie didn't see him come into the store, and by the time I spotted him, I saw Bestie waving me down. She warned me over the walkie-talkie, and I ran into the jewelry department where an older co-worker, we can call her Mrs. Joy, was working. I barely had time to whisper, "Kevin." She understood immediately. He walked up and asked if a little Hispanic girl from clothing was working that day. Mrs. Joy told him no. He lingered, circling the counter and pretending to look at jewelry. I crouched behind the counter, pretending to search for something while customers stood nearby. Eventually, he left. I stayed hidden for over an hour, just to be sure. What scared me most was outside of work. Some nights after closing, we'd see a minivan idling in the parking lot with its lights off. It wouldn't leave until I walked to my car. I never proved it was him, but the timing was always wrong. After 5 months, he slowly stopped appearing at the store. No more questions, no more hiding, no more watching over my shoulder. I never filed a restraining order. I was young, overwhelmed, and just trying to survive everything else in my life at the time. But to Kevin, who turned my workplace into a hiding place and made my coworkers protect me for months, if you are reading this, I hope you get some help.